Good morning, children. Yesterday we did 10 poetic devices. Let us continue with a few more which are prescribed in your syllabus. Okay? Till irony we did. Now the next one. The next one is hyperbole. Hyperbole is basically an exaggerated opinion about the fact. Okay, I just give a very simple example to you. You remember in Hindi we say भारत को सोने की चिड़िया कहा जाता था और we used to say उस टाइम दूध की नदियां बहती थी. All these things are hyperbolic expressions which we use. So, in a poem, whenever the poet uses an exaggerated statement wherein things are made to appear greater or lesser than they really are, the statement is made for the effect, but it should not be taken literally. Like if I say for someone, she wept oceans of tears, the bag weighs a ton, your skin is softer than silk. Or I say, and they hop the whole world 3 times round. From the poem The Duck and the Kangaroo, which is there in your syllabus. Okay? So all these are hyperbolic expressions. Okay? The next device, assonance. Assonance means repetition of a vowel sound in a line. The rain in Spain falls on the plain. So this alphabet A has an assonance over here. Okay. Fleet, feet, sweet by sleeping geese. So the alphabet, the vowel sound E, the way it is repeated. See, yesterday I told you alliteration. Alliteration is the initial alphabet, whereas assonance is within the word. When I say fleet, feet, so this F is alliteration, but then this double E, this is assonance. It is inside the word, within the word. A labor not different from our own. So this alphabet O has assonance. Note the line here, repetition of a vowel sound in a line. Harshit, all the doubts will be clarified later, beta. Here if I unmute you all, some of the pranksters start doing all the stupid things. Okay, which disturbs the class, beta. All doubts will be clarified. Right now, you keep noting down all the things in your second notebook. Okay. Now, the next device is consonants. First we did assonance. Now it's consonants. Consonants means repetition of a consonant sound. I think, I like the pink kite. So this alphabet K. Repetition of a consonant sound, KK. Her feet left a print on the carpet. So this TT is consonants, where they harness the swift reindeer to the sledges where it snows. So this SS consonants. Okay. So the next device, transferred epithet. Transferred epithet. Pay attention, Kajal. Pay attention to the class, not to what your mama is saying. Kajal, pay attention to the class here. Kunal, Himika, keep your videos on. Transferred epithet. This is the use of an adjective or an adverb for a noun to which it fits grammatically, means grammar wise it's correct. But when it comes to logic, it is not correct. Directly have a look at the third example here. The farmer was walking on a tired path. Can a path be ever tired? क्या कोई रास्ता कभी थका हुआ हो सकता है? A path cannot be tired. It was that the farmer who was tired. But here the poet is granting himself a liberty wherein he has transferred an adjective or an adverb from its correct position. The sentence should have been, the tired farmer was walking on the path. But instead of that, poet says the farmer was walking on a tired path. So this is an epithet which has been transferred. Okay. See the definition once again. Adjective or an adverb for a noun to which it fits grammatically but not logically. The epithet. Epithet matlab adjective which exposes a quality is transferred from one word to which it properly belongs to some other word which is closely connected. Like I said, tired. Tired word should have been there with the farmer. But we use here with the path. Okay. The prisoner was kept in a condemned jail. So here I specified the jail was not condemned, punished. Prisoner was punished. Okay. She accompanied him many weary miles. Weary means tired. She stood upon a dizzy cliff. Dizzy means when you feel like having an unconscious state. So the cliff was not dizzy. The person who was there is dizzy. Likewise, you have a poem, No Men Are Foreign. In that poem, there is a word peaceful harvest. Harvests are not peaceful, but the social political conditions of the country made the harvests peaceful. Okay, it shall be explained in detail when we do the poem. Fine. Then the next device, imagery. Imagery is image produced in mind through language. The poet, while composing the poem, he has used such words which make the poem so lively that we are able to perceive the beauty which the poet is trying to depict through his words. Okay? Have a look once again. Image produced in mind through language. So the words or phrases that appeal to any of the senses are used. Imagery can be visual, auditory, tactile, olfactory or gustatory. The very first poem, Road Not Taken, has visual imagery in it. All three lines, two roads diverged, it bent in the undergrowth, both that morning equally lay. All these lines are an example of visual imagery. The poet has composed the poem in such a way that we are able to nicely imagine that what is the poet expecting us to see. All these are visual imageries. Okay. Next is anaphora. Anaphora. When in a stanza of a poem, few lines begin with the same word, it is known as anaphora, and you have 2 to 3 examples of anaphora in your syllabus. The poem Road Not Taken. If you have the books with you, quickly open and have a look. Road Not Taken. Line number 2, 3 and 4 begin with the same word and. Road Not Taken. Line number 2, 3 and 4 begin with the same word and. We call this device as anaphora. Similarly, in the poem Wind, line number 2, 3, 4 begin with the word don't. Line number 6, 7, 8 begin with the word you. All these are termed as anaphora. The next device, allusion. Suppose in a poem, the poet refers to any historical, mythological, or a literary person. We call it as an allusion. पोएम में पोएट ने किसी भी हिस्टोरिकल, माइथोलॉजिकल या लिटरेरी पर्सन का रेफरेंस दिया हो, we call it as an allusion. There is a poem Legend of Northland in your book. In that, the poet talks about Saint Peter, who was considered to be a priest. Okay? Reference to Saint Priest in the poem is termed as allusion. Suppose you say someone, you are acting like a Scrooge. Someone acting like a Scrooge means he is being very stingy, being miser, conjuice. So this is allusion because there was a character in the play Christmas Carol. His name was Ebenezer Scrooge and he was a miser character. Another thing, don't act like a Romeo in front of her. Acting like Romeo means being romantic, and you understand. Romeo was a character from Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet. Okay? Suppose someone is trying to sing very beautifully. So you say, don't try to be Lata Mangeshkar. So this is somewhere we call as allusion. Okay? Now, the next, rhyme scheme. One I gave you as an example. Suppose you have done this poem, no? Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down, broke his crown, Jill came tumbling after. Okay? So it's a sequence in which rhyme occurs. See, Jill and hill, we termed alphabet A. Water and after, rhyming, so B and B. Then down and crown. So this is the occurrence of the rhyme. So if I say what is the rhyme scheme of Jack and Jill, you will say it's A, B, C, C, B. You will term it this way, A, B, C, C, no, A, B, C, C, B. So if you did it this way, now the Road Not Taken poem, have a look. Two roads diverged in a wood, sorry I could not travel both. So here would, stood and could, they match. Then both and growth match. Did you see? So the rhyme scheme of these lines would be A, B, A, B. You have to understand how to find out the rhyme scheme, because this comes as the first question of your extract. If ever you have an extract based question, no, it would be asked, what is the rhyme scheme of the following lines? So, आपको आना चाहिए कि rhyme scheme कैसे find out करते हैं. Fine? Okay. Next device, antithesis. Antithesis is a figure of speech where a word or idea is set in contrast against another in the same sentence. See, few moments back, I made you understand oxymoron. Oxymoron is opposite words placed together. But antithesis is within a sentence and two contradictory ideas are given. Man proposes, God disposes. United we stand, divided we fall. Duck and the Kangaroo poem, the poet says for the kangaroo, over the fields and the water too. So, when idea is set in contrast against another in the same statement, that is antithesis. Next, apostrophe. This is not the apostrophe which is placed in the possessive case. This apostrophe is a device wherein the poet is talking to an absent listener. There is no second person in the poem, but the poet is imagining someone's presence and talking as if that second person was alive and would reply to the poet. The whole of the poem Snake Trying of your syllabus is an apostrophe. Further example, oh bed, at last I can be with you. Would the bed reply that thank you for coming back to me? But still, when you're talking to that absent listener, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Would the star reply back? But still the poet is considering it as alive and a person able to reply. So absent listener's presence is considered apostrophe. Then is enjambment. All these devices should be neatly written in your second notebook, children, because time and again when it is being explained, you can refer to your notes. Enjambment. In a poem, when some lines continue one after the other without a pause. Without a pause means without any punctuation. No comma, no full stop, no colon placed, and one line continuing to the other. We call it as enjambment. The meaning runs over from one poetic line to the next without any punctuation. You may have a look of what enjambment exactly is in the poem Snake Trying. You would find that from the very first line to the last line comes the punctuation mark, and without a pause the poet is continuing his thoughts. So we consider it as enjambment. Elegy. Elegy is a literary form that conventionally mourns the death of someone close to speaker. And this form of poem is used to express the feelings of the poet, not narration of the story, expression of feelings of the poet. And the poem Slumber Did My Spirit Seal is an example of elegy, wherein the poet is expressing his feeling on the death of someone very close to him. Okay. The last device is symbolism. Before we discuss the definition, have a look. When I talk about the color black, I think about something which is very evil. When I talk about the color white, it symbolizes purity. You may have heard of the word symbolize. From the word symbolize comes the device symbolism. Okay. When symbolism can there be in animals even. If I talk about dog, we talk about dog being very faithful, loyal. But when I talk about a serpent, it may refer to darkness or corruption. So when any word symbolizes something else, we consider it as symbolism. Now let's have a look at the definition of symbolism. It is a literary device that uses symbols, be they words, people, marks, locations or abstract ideas to represent something which is beyond the literal meaning. Every word may be having one literal meaning, one symbolic meaning. Two meanings. The very first poem, Road Not Taken, first poem of your syllabus, has symbolism in it. Because Robert Frost, when he says, starts with this thought in the poem, he is a lonely traveler who is confronted with two roads in front of him. Those two roads symbolize the journey of life and the decisions we make on that journey. Okay? While I'm explaining you the poem, then I shall be in detail telling you what exactly the symbolism the Road Not Taken poem has. Here is just a very short description that when he talks about two roads, he says that on his onward journey of life, he has to take a very crucial decision. In front of him, two roads were there and he had to choose one. So those two roads refers to the choices which we get in our life. Either to do this or to do that. First choice or the second choice. So the narrator, that is the poet, shows the path that was grassy and wanted beer, and that basically tells the desire many of us have for individuality and adventure. The exact meaning of these lines, children, you'll be able to understand when we do the poem. And we'll be doing this poem on Monday. That is why all the devices have been introduced to you. Fine. So these were the devices, 23 devices which were there for your 9th class syllabus. In 10th class, we'll add a few more. But right now, in your 9th class textbook, you have these many. Okay? Just wait. So with this, we finish with all the poetic devices. Monday onwards, we'll be doing the poem The Road Not Taken.